Welcome back to Talking Shit, where we are talking all sorts of shit. Schitt's Creek, that is. I'm Jess Sterling, and here we're talking about Season 5, Episode 11, Meet the Parents. And as always, we're not alone here. Today, I'm joined by someone who absolutely would sell feet pics for money. Stuart!
I mean, I wonder what my wiki feet ranking would be if we did.
Do you have ugly feet?
Aren't all feet ugly?
Yes.
I'm not a foot person. I don't get
I'm not either. Not kink shaming, but me neither.
Yeah, not for me. But yeah, but I am intrigued about what my wiki feet ranking would be. It's a big hot topic amongst me and my friends, weirdly enough. My friend Tom has a weird thing about joking about wiki feet, so much so that I actually wonder if it's actually a joke anymore. But
check. Yeah. You're gonna need to have to check on that. But for now, we're gonna introduce our guest now, and someone who absolutely loves a surprise party. Grace Leeder. Grace, how are you?
I don't think I like a surprise party.
I don't think so either.
This is actually the perfect week for me to be on. I'm actually helping plan my brother's 40th surprise birthday party, and I hate that we've decided to do it as a surprise. I keep telling my sister-in-law, can we please just tell him we're doing
and he doesn't know? Do you think he knows?
He doesn't. I think he knows that something is happening. I don't think he knows exactly what we're doing. Anyway, Catherine O'Hara has a 4.44 on WikiFeet. That's her.
You did not just Google that grade.
Out of 10 or out of 5?
Out of 5. Out of 5.
Oh, good. 4.4 is great. Out of 10, it would be terrible, but out of 5, great.
Yeah.
And if you need me to Google anybody else while we're on the podcast,
I mean, I want to know about. I want to know about Eugene.
Stuart didn't show up. I got unfortunately. We're not.
Horror.
Yeah.
I think the internet is severely lacking in my feet pics.
Eugene Levy cannot be found. Oh no! Sorry, I do have to search maybe the sister site Wiki Feet Men. Sorry, apologies.
Oh, I didn't realize. Why are we separating feet by gender?
Yeah, is there a Wiki Feet non-binary?
In Pride Month of all months, we need a Wiki Feet non-binary.
Only 4 photos of Eugene Levy's feet apparently ever have been seen, and he has a 4.75 star rating. And all 4 photos are, I think, from 1 to 2 episodes of Schitt's Creek.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. We get so sidetracked by Wiki Feet. It's okay. We're here to talk about Meet the Parents today, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited because this is such an important episode. It's such an incredible episode. Grace, I feel like we talked about you coming on this episode a while back. I don't know if that's true, but tell us why you're here for this episode specifically.
Oh, it's a very queer episode. I like it very much. I mean, I think this and it's so Schitt's Creek as well. It's so cozy surprise, time in terms of like, you kind of think that it's going to be about one thing and then it's not really about that at all. And in terms of like, it's not nearly as like sad. I mean, literally, I think David said it was like, this could have been a lot darker, and it's not. It's actually like super sweet. So yeah, Meet the Parents. Yeah, actually, no, I requested because I thought we were watching the 2000 comedy film Meet the Parents.
I was waiting for it. Yeah. That was like, you knew it was coming. I was like on a countdown timer there. Incredible. But I mean, this episode is so good, so good. I was so surprised because obviously, like, I guessed what it was last week. Like,
you were like Patrick's parents. It has to be Patrick's parents.
But I never really envisaged that it'd be quite as hard hitting as this. This was a joy of an episode, wasn't it?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's recap the episode just in case people haven't rewatched it recently. Give them a little bit of a recap. Grab your tissue boxes because we're about to cut some onions in here. Let's start with the less emotional storyline of Alexis and Moira. Alexis has arranged for Moira to appear at Soap Expo, a soap opera fan convention, without Moira's knowledge. Moira feels these sorts of events are beneath her, but given she needs to raise money for Cabaret, she decides to give it a try. She meets an old colleague, Gloria Gregson, and finds out she can earn some good money for an autograph and some great money for feet pics. Meanwhile, back in Schitt's Creek, David has organized a surprise birthday party for Patrick and invites Patrick's parents. Things get bumpy when David finds out that Johnny unintentionally outed Patrick to his parents, and David tries to clean up the mess without Patrick knowing, while also dealing with the pain of realizing Patrick's parents think he's just Patrick's business partner. Luckily, Patrick's parents are only upset that Patrick didn't tell them sooner, and the birthday party goes off without a hitch, and we all sob because of how beautiful it is. That's our episode, Stuart.
So adorable. This was great because the expectations here is like with all like kind of queer stories and especially coming out stories is there's always that kind of reaction from the parents and you're kind of just dreading it because someone as sweet as Patrick, you don't want to see Patrick go through anything that's horrible and you don't want a world to like we don't need to constantly be told about parents being awful with stories like this. And so it's refreshing to have just like a complicated and not exactly the smoothest coming out, but a nice one relatively. Like I thought it was handled really kind of well, while also kind of sticking true to what Schitt's Creek is, which is just an absolute like calamity of like silly circumstances that come together and like ways for David to make an absolute pig's ear of like a whole situation and just somehow sweetly kind of like dig their way out of it. And I just came away from this entire episode with like the warm fuzzies, and this is kind of what I missed because last episode was kind of a stinker, and so to come to this one, I'm like, okay, we're back on, like we're back in there.
Yeah, we're back on track. Grace, I think we've talked about this in the past, specifically with you when you've come on the podcast about like the way this show tells queer love stories in a way that isn't like it's not all about the trauma, right? Like it's not a character like yes, Patrick gets outed accidentally, but it's not played in like a traumatic way. His parents aren't angry with him, like it really subverts those expectations in a really lovely way. And another thing I thought that they did a great job with that I didn't necessarily recollect was David's reaction to finding out Patrick's parents don't know, right? Like I feel like we could have seen him be like devastated. And while he is a little bit upset, he really is able to kind of set that aside to be like, don't worry, Patrick, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, he's willing. He's like, I can just be your business partner tonight if that helps, even though, cat's out of the bag already for the most part. But yeah, there is something. This is, I feel like this is a good episode because, and like a good, like queer, comedy episode in the way that, I feel like there's this thing. I mean, this will be really interesting to talk to you two about. I feel like there was a little bit of a pushback I saw online this season with The Last of Us, that there was a little bit more in terms of like there being tension or like conflict or things about queer storylines that people were hoping we were sort of more in a like. I feel like people really like the idea of like a fully sort of postmodern like queer thing where it's just like like someone says they're out to their parents, like they never really have to come out, that like their parents are totally fine with it, like as soon as they come out, like that sort of thing. And there's a little bit of pushback because I think that even like in the ways in which it goes well, there is still like these like things that happen as part of like a queer as part of the queer experience, just because it is like out of the norm. And so even like for me, like Patrick's parents actually like I was joking with this a little while ago about like when people react to somebody coming out, I'm like, oh, I wish you told me sooner. And it's like, bro, like it's really hard to tell someone that you're queer. Like I'm risking my whole relationship with you, even if you know that you would have been okay with it. I didn't know that you would 100% be okay with it all the time, And so there's a little bit of that in this, I think, where like they're like kind of upset that they didn't like and maybe that's more of them reflecting on like what they could have done before rather than like blaming Patrick for not telling them. But it's still, and then the David and Patrick of it all, of like you can sense sort of the hurt that David has when he realizes like, oh, you've never, like, I think it was so assumed that I was so part of your life that of course they would have just known, but like, oh, it's now dawning on me that like you haven't shared that piece of your life with your parents, which is hard, but it's all done in sort of like the sweetest. People sort of like react in the, I don't want to say right way, but like in a very sweet and positive way. And so it's just a really charming episode of television, I think.
It's complexity that's not really afforded to these stories ordinarily. Like it's like you said, like it's wildly kind of like difficult to navigate because in some sense people do, like say, say the right things or the right things. But it comes loaded because you don't want your lifestyle to necessarily be a reaction to some people. Like, you don't want it to be like this scene that people kind of like make of it. And like, some people don't necessarily want that. Some people do want that. They want the validation, and it's like, it's personal to each individual. And I thought the way in which they handled this to not only show obviously the difficult situation that Patrick was thrown into, and the way in which the people around him were very positive with that kind of like trying to help, but it still expressed, like, you saw the pain that David felt in that moment, and the kind of awful sense of obligation that David would closet their relationship to maintain Patrick's like own mental like kind of well-being throughout this, which was an incredibly like thoughtful but still tragic thing to even want to suggest, like to suggest to someone that you'd hide part of yourself and your truth to help someone out. It's something that in an ideal world shouldn't even present itself. Like, it's the kind of complexity of a kind of relationship that I don't think in non-queer media like is ever even broached as a possible idea of like kind of just having to mask yourself to fit in or to like kind of just have peace. And so like I thought it was great to be able to show that, but then also for it not to kind of like have a stranglehold of the plot and to be like, this is the key point they're making. It's nice to just have it, express it, but it not be this kind of like spotlight on it and be an issue story. Like, it's not that kind of story. It's a very personal one to Patrick, right?
Yeah, and it feels like they, like Grace was saying, right? This isn't like a utopia where no one cares about others' sexuality. Like, there's still a hurdle. There is still, Patrick has to jump the hurdle of coming out to his parents, and it's scary no matter what. And I really love the way they specifically handled that, where Patrick is upset because he's both like insulted his partner, like he's done something that has hurt David's feelings, even though it is like extremely justified, right? He says like, I know my parents are good people, but there's still that small chance that what I say will change everything, that they will see me differently, they will treat me differently. And this is so relatable, right? Like, I feel like we all can relate to, and maybe not even our parents, but like anybody really, where it's like, I know this person is a really good person, but there's still that chance because of their age, what generation they're in, you know, where they, how they grew up, when they grew up, there's still a chance that they won't accept me. And that's a big risk that you're taking. And I mean, I think there are people who maybe would get on Patrick's case. He should have come out sooner. He should, you know, his parents should know about David, whatever. I'm not going to do that because I feel like what Patrick says makes sense, which is I want to tell them. I have been wanting to tell them, but I wanted to do it in person. And then I didn't get home for the holidays. And then everything was going so great with us, right? Like, he doesn't want to pop that love bubble. He doesn't want to burst the balloon of his happiness when something could go wrong. And all of that feels so true and so genuine to Patrick that, of course, David is going to say, this is so personal. Like, you should do it on your terms, but also your parents are here. Like, I thought, honestly, I feel like the person I was, not that I was very impressed with Patrick, obviously, but the way David handled every single thing that came up this episode, I don't know a better way he could have handled any of this, right, Grace? Like, I think once Patrick's parents know, you kind of have to run interference, because what is he going to do? Have them just show up at the birthday party and then have no idea how they're going to react to their son coming out, right? Like, I think maybe he took a step too far, but I feel like it was completely justified.
I mean, this is why I don't really like surprises. You know, who knows what's going to happen? You know, we shouldn't do these. But once he's like, like, what I think is really sweet about this episode is that like Patrick is the one who said he always wanted a surprise birthday. So this is not the thing where it's like, oh, I tried to do this really nice thing. Like, I feel like other sitcoms would be like, David is the one who's obsessed with surprise birthdays, and he would throw Patrick the party, and Patrick would be the one who's like, I never want a surprise birthday, but now like my boyfriend is throwing me one. And then not only would David do it, but then also he would kind of get mad for like, he's like, I was doing such a nice thing for you. Like, that's where all the conflict would be. And it's like, just that's not where the conflict is in the situation at all. And I would, when I was in university, when I went to university, I was like, I'm leaving high school. I'm just going to be out. Like, I don't want to be in the closet. I'm just going to be out. And so I went and I was out, and it was like the best thing ever to like be, there was obviously like ways in which like I didn't tell anybody back home. And so when I would come home, it'd be a little awkward. Actually, I think when my mom asked me, so like I don't know who, I actually to this day actually don't know how my mom knows how I came out as like gay. And I was having a really tough time one year in university, and I called her, and then she asked me, and it's like, yep, that's what happened. But segue, I was seeing a guy who was not out, and I have to say, just like very candidly at the time, it was very annoying. It was very annoying to be out of the closet and then have to navigate a situation where your partner is not out. And that is the thing that like can happen to people who are in queer relationships, where like one of you is out and the other one is not out. And like it didn't work out with that person. And I like, it's not like I was like not willing to like figure it out with them, but it was like it was like an annoying thing because I was like, oh, I'd done that already. Like, it's like I'm out already, like I don't want to do that. And so I do think that David like offering to like be in the closet for Patrick's birthday party is like, it's so sad to think that they would have to do that, but like he's willing to do it. It's such a sweet, kind gesture from David.
And I also feel like it must be even more triggering for David because we know he does not have a good history with romantic relationships. And I imagine that part of that is probably having to hide himself, for others. And that just feels like it must be at least part of the equation, or it must have happened to him at least once. And I think it's also just like this whiplash of his whole family knows. Like Patrick is a member of the Rose family at this point. Right. And so to have like the exact opposite, where Patrick's family only knows you as your partner's business partner, like that is so painful. And yet the grace with which David handles this is just like so admirable, that he is able to be like, nope, this is about Patrick. Like, I'm going to table my hurt feelings because I just inadvertently did something that could really have serious repercussions for Patrick. And I thought it was like, I don't know, Stuart, like to go from only having telephone conversations with someone's parents where, again, they think you're a business partner, to then approaching them in person and being like, hey, so here's the situation. Like, that is terrifying to me. Truly, I can't think of anything scarier than that.
It's strange because at times David gives across this kind of really, I guess, unsure of themselves, attitude that you kind of you know that there's a lot of kind of work on oneself that's gone through. Like David, like kind of saying, I brought two people home and told parents to deal with it. Like it was very much, I think that there was a lot of work that went into David accepting themselves and also making other people accept David for who David is. And so like I think that there is still a lot of those kind of insecurities that kind of manifest. Like we see David when David gets really shy sometimes and kind of not as quite as extroverted amongst people as Alexis is. And so there is a vulnerability there. And David kind of like puts on this sheen and like goes into protection mode for Patrick, because I think David perhaps sees a lot of his former self in that whole situation. But then it's also like really kind of quite endearing because it doesn't take away that David still has that like deep down. Like I don't think anyone really ever truly kind of like gets over any like kind of issues around like stuff like that. It just kind of gets lessened and you have ways of coping with it. So still like David is digging deep and having to do it. It's just so admirable and just so mature, which I don't think we would have got from David in earlier seasons unless we'd also had that assurance that came from the relationship with Patrick. So it's like it's really nice how the two of them kind of do rely on each other still without actually having them. Well, I mean, in this sense, like kind of David is stepping in to help Patrick, but like they still are relying on each other's influence for that. I will say, really fucking ugly gift basket, like this like metal dark metal thing with a black ribbon. Like I like black, but I was like, David, that's just too much.
David loves black. Yeah, he put some extra lip balms because he ran out of body milk.
Yeah, I love that the like David is so attuned to the store that he knows like obviously what like conversations. He's like, well, I know exactly what they like. I'm gonna pack everything in there. And I also love the conversation at the end where Patrick is like, yeah, and the gift basket that I'm hoping that you paid for, that David's just like,
yeah, nope.
The other thing I think is like important about Schitt's Creek obviously became popular like ever, but in like Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara are like such comedy icons, and the show is a show that not only was very popular, but like Canadians were very proud of it being a thing, even though like kind of in the universe of the show they like kind of the jokes that they never really say whether or not, but it was a CBC show, and it's Eugene Levy, and so people were really proud of it. And I really like this episode. I do think the thing of Patrick's worry about the like 1% chance that your parents will like, and to me, he doesn't really, I think, have any fear that they'll disown him or like not care for him, but just that your relationship is different. Funny, I make this joke now all the time where it's like, I'll have friends who will be like, oh, it's so annoying. My parents always ask me like, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? If you want your parents not to talk to you about any of that stuff, you can just come out as queer or trans, and they do not know how to talk to you about that. So they will not. But for Patrick, it's just that like their relationship will change even just slightly is like the thing that he is most worried about, that they'll see him differently and act around him differently. And what I really like is that fear is like really, like I think really well expressed in the episode. And then also you get this, because I like, not to like go in on sort of like wokeness or whatever, but I feel like there's this feeling that people feel like oh, I'm gonna say and do the wrong thing, and then you're gonna see me as like if you're like not like super leftist leaning person, you're gonna think I'm then like the worst, like I'm homophobic or whatever. And I just really like the way that this whole thing plays out, where it's like, no, it's not really about whether, I don't think you're gonna be like, I think you're a good person. I don't think you're gonna be like immediately homophobic. I just think like it's gonna change the dynamic, and that's the thing that we all have to then like figure out. And so I just, for like a mainstream extremely popular show, I really just like the way the dynamics of this situation play out and are like expressed in a modern show.
Yeah, especially I think I love the scene between David and Patrick's parents where they're like, wait a minute, we're not upset that he's gay. We feel bad that he didn't think he could tell us that information. And I really appreciate it, because all of this felt like both like a nice version to show, right? Like not necessarily the ideal scenario, right? Because in the ideal scenario, Patrick is able to come out to his parents himself, but like an ideal scenario where the parents don't disown you, don't hate you, don't judge you, all those things. I really appreciated that his mom said, is it because we were so close with Rachel, his ex-fiance? Because that feels sincere. That feels real. That like, that would be something she's thinking like, oh no, is it because like we really liked Rachel that he felt like we wouldn't accept it or we wouldn't understand it? Like, they only care about Patrick's well-being to the point where when they're questioning, like, do we go to the party? Like, we don't want him to feel uncomfortable. Like we only want to be there for him. It's just so lovely. And it is like something that is so just lovely to see on TV, especially because like you both were saying, so much of queer media is like trauma. It's just like every second of it is trauma. And so to get this like really lovely story where Patrick still gets to come out to his parents and we get to see that moment. And I think it is just the absolute sweetest. Like his dad, before Patrick comes out to them, is like, oh, you really got a good friend here in David, like trying to like set it up so that Patrick is less scared.
So
like
sweet.
It's so sweet. It's also sweet, Stuart. And the fact that both his parents were wearing blue, like, I saw that, Stuart. I was paying attention. I'm like, see, the show is trying to cue us in. Like, even before we meet them, these people are okay. They're in blue, just like Patrick wears. It's fine. Everything's okay.
That's such a ridiculous ridiculous take. If the color theory is a thing on this show, I'd be really surprised. Like, not gonna lie.
I really don't know if it is.
I don't think it is. I mean, like, maybe. I don't know. Someone write in, let us know. I don't know. But it's kind of strange because on the one hand, I'm hearing like and agreeing that like, yeah, it is incredibly sweet. But then there's this whole aspect, and why I like the setup of this whole story is that it affords some complexity because sometimes there is a thing of being too positive and having too much of a reaction and like being like it, and that being the dynamic change. Like I think of like Patrick knowing that they're good people and there being like a chance, like he does express that it does like a chance of it going in a negative way, but there's also like the risk of like it just changing your day-to-day dynamic in a way that kind of just upends thing and just makes you conscious that you've affected a change in it, like from like the way in which they might kind of choose their words more carefully around you, the way in which they might kind of bring up kind of queer media more around you, like, and because they're like actively trying. In some people that might be like, okay, that's very sweet, they're making an active effort, but there's also a kind of performative aspect of it as well, I think comes into it, which kind of again is like something that isn't directly expressed here, but I kind of got the vibe of because I was there just going, yeah, it just changes so much. And again, but not just this huge big thing. It's like there's a lot of like small little ripple effects of things. And there's also like the sense of guilt that people can have and harbor towards you because they might have like kind of they might just reanalyze all of their own choices and like how that's affected your life. And it's like, no, it's my life. You being quite kind of supportive of like heteronormative relationship has no bearings on my like queerness or anything like that. You don't have to worry about like that aspect, but you have to then reassure them. And it's a very kind of layered kind of situation. And the way in which they did at least set it up to be supportive, I think is just the best way it could have been navigated. Because like you said, like they kind of like set it up to be like, okay, well, we're gonna like be really kind of positive towards David and to like kind of reassure that way. I think that it allowed for possibly some like thinking of how complex this could be while also kind of just still setting it up that like we're in a safe pair of hands. I don't know if I'm really kind of like reading way too much into it. I don't know. I've been like thinking a lot.
I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on because the other thing that I like is what you were saying about the performativeness of some of it and like trying too hard, right? Like like there are some people, it's like, oh, like Grace was saying with her mom, right? Like asking someone, oh, are you gay? And instead of letting them kind of come to you, I think like we get hints of that, like glimpses of that in the scene with Patrick actually trying to tell his parents, where his mom is just like, you could tell us anything. Oh, David seems so great, right? Like very much trying to like overly make Patrick feel comfortable to the point where his dad is like, Marcy, calm down. Let him speak.
So good.
So yeah, they're not perfect. And that's what makes this so great. It is like that they're not perfect, but they're trying, and that's like really all we can ask of anyone is to like have an open mind and try. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this whether or not I don't know whether I like in the real world I actually like this idea of like, okay, we're gonna put Patrick back in the closet so he can like come out to you. I actually don't know if I like think that like, I mean, I think it's totally fair that Johnny does what he does and revealing like he's actually like being a very sweet parent in the moment of like how like it's his like his son's boyfriend who's like it's his birthday party that they're having, and like I don't think that he can be like super faulted, but he is the one who like outs Patrick too.
But no, he didn't know. Like that's the thing, because he didn't know. He had no idea that they didn't know. So yeah, I don't blame him at all because he wasn't told not to.
But then once you get to the point where it's like, then David comes over, and then it's like, okay, let's all like kind of go back in the closet for the night, so that he can have like, I don't know if that's actually, I mean, I guess it's just so person dependent in terms of like, if this is, I mean, this situation isn't, and I guess what I'm getting at is that like, the show is also a television show, and so like ultimately I really love the moment where like Patrick like comes out to his parents, and I do think that that's like very sweet from a television point thing in terms of like, and some of the stuff you're talking about where like with his parents, the jokes about how eager she is to like set him up for like like it's very sweet and funny. So I think it does work, but there's a way in which like there are many people who are like acting, and I guess I don't mean to sound like I'm saying like there's a right way to do this all and there's a wrong way to do it all. It's just like how it happens here that I'm like, oh, that's definitely not my experience of like what I like. Again, my parents, my mom did not wait for like me to come and like and I almost think like it was actually like such a relief of the moment to be like, oh yeah, you already know, and you clearly it has not affected our relationship up until this point, so yeah.
It's different for so many different kind of people and different relationships that people have. Like for some people, like you might come out to some people in a completely different manner than you might to others, because there is an aspect of like them informing it as well. Like it's wildly complex, but like I think the key thing that I kind of loved about this is the ending, because I felt like a bit more power was given back to Patrick and the ownership of that whole situation of being able to read the parents and to know everything that went along, and then to afford David an opportunity to be like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I'm cleaning up Johnny's mess and all of this. And for Patrick to choose, I think, to not be angry and to accept it and to kind of be quite thankful of it, and still to express that it was one of the happiest days of his life. I think without that, I might have come away from this being a bit like, ooh, that might just a smidge icky in a way, like, because I didn't quite like that Patrick was forced and like kind of was really kind of left to just react to stuff. And I came away from the end of it just going, no, Patrick kind of had a hand in going along with it, because Patrick read everything as it was. So I did like that aspect.
I think
massively.
I think for me it's because like I'm a little bit behind on the route, so I'm like jumping into this. But like, if David knows Patrick well enough to know that like Patrick could really like use and would want the moment to come out to his parents, so like that's what's in. Like I think that's what's important in that situation.
Yeah, agreed. And I can't express to you how much I love that final scene between the two of those characters. One, because it is just so sweet. But two, because the song that is playing, I don't know if either of you are familiar with it. It's by Aqualung, called Brighter Than Sunshine. I adore this song because it is in one of my absolute favorite movies. And I remember when I was younger, I would watch this movie all the time. And I like, there's certain songs from certain movies that you will then add to your, at the time, MP3 player, because I'm old. But I would listen to it all the time. And it just gives me like it's like romance vibes. Like this is the song I think of when I think of romance vibes. And
it's an Ashton Kutcher film, isn't it? Like,
yes, it is, Stuart. Okay, listen.
Yeah, I may have like looked up the music video and seen Ashton Kutcher in it, and I was like, oh, it's a film tie-in song. Yeah, I remember hearing it. It's very
so good.
All generation, I think. Like, it's very kind of like, oh, I downloaded this on Kazaa.
Yeah, I got this on LimeWire. It's from the movie A Lot Like Love, with Ashton Kutcher and Amanda Peet, a 2005 rom-com, my favorite. I adored that movie. I don't think it gets enough love. And this was a song in it, and it was like a pivotal scene that this song played in, just like it does here. And I just think it's like the most romantic song. And so to have them like doing a slow dance and like kissing to this song is just like so beautiful. And then Twyla had to ruin it because she wants to ruin things by saying not to step on the moment. You did. You stepped on it. Okay. I'm going to close up in 5 minutes. Leave them the keys, Twyla. Stop it.
No. Like get this soppy stuff over and done with. Do that at home. Like, Twyla's on the job. Twyla's got to go home.
She can at least wait until the kiss was over. Hours. Like, come on.
Yeah, okay, I guess.
I guess she does have a reason to be upset because David did say that he told Patrick there was salmonella at the cafe.
As excuses go, that's probably the worst one, because if that rumor gets out, that's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, the restaurant. Yeah, the cafe is
salmonella. Yeah. So funny. I love it. Anything else on the David and Patrick storyline before we talk about Alexis and Moira's adventures?
I mean, gosh, there's so many like good lines that come out, like, and so many jokes. I feel like if we were to like go through like list them all off, we'd be here for another like half hour just talking about this particular side of it. But yeah, like I just kind of want to say, like, as deep and meaningful as this is, it's also still deeply Schitt's Creek in the sense that like it's still chock full of jokes. Like I was laughing all the way through. Had some like kind of like like David, like this, I thought this was gonna go in a dark place. You and me both, buddy. But the jokes like
you messaged me, Stuart. You're like, I don't know if I can watch this today, and I was like, I don't want to spoil it for you, but like it's okay, like it'll be okay. Trust me, because you were like, they don't know, and you immediately were like nervous that you know how it was going to be handled. Also, quick shout out to Johnny for like coming into the room after David has been talking to the brewers and being like, oh, are you happy, David? Because that at the end of the day, that's all that matters, isn't it? Like, it's very sweet. I love that. And again, you could say he's overstepping, but I viewed it as like having his son's back and like wanting to be there to support him if it went poorly, and to be another parent in the room again if it went poorly, to be like, listen, it's gonna be okay, like we've been through this however long ago, and hey, we found out in a worse way because our son brought home a couple and was like, surprise.
Johnny was a sweetheart from that, like doing that, and also like running all the way to the cafe as well.
How many times have we seen him out of breath from running?
Oh, bless him. Like, it's not a short distance, I imagine. So, yeah.
I love it.
It's so cute. I think also Johnny just breaks, I think, a lot of the tropes of like comedy sitcom dad, you know, in terms of like basically what happens this episode is like he's like just like bragging about his son, and you know, like he's so happy about like for Patrick and for, you know, and David organized this thing that he like outs Patrick, you know, but like that's like many other versions of like this of the headline being like father sitcom dad outs you know son's boyfriend is like much worse than this situation. It's very sweet, actually.
Yeah.
I thought David, one quick thing, I thought David was so wise though to leave the surprise party like awareness to the last minute for his family. Like I thought of all moves that was a genius move, because you knew that, like, I mean, like Johnny managed to put his foot in a different area, but like if they had not known about the surprise and somehow revealed that, I mean, I don't know, much worse in the different.
I mean, Moira didn't even wait like a whole night before she told both Alexis and Johnny about the end of the crowing and that it ends in a cropocalypse.
But you didn't hear from me.
So good. So ridiculous. Speaking of Moira, let's talk through her and Alexis's journey at the Soap Expo. Obviously a much like lower stakes kind of storyline, but I still felt like this showed some growth from Moira, right? Like where she previously like, oh, these are beneath me, you know, like what does she call them? Like asymmetrical faced people. Like she doesn't want to hang out with them. But she needs money for Cabaret. And I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the episode, she indicates that she wanted Alexis and Johnny to do some sort of science experiment for money.
Yeah, she was going to do like medical testing. Was it? Yeah. If any one of us, say you or your father, participates in a few nugatory tests, we could be bringing over $200. That's not like no money. That's like some considerable money. So like maybe worth it. What kind of tests would get $200
I don't even want to know.
For? No, especially down at the small little medical clinic in Elgrove. So it's like we're not talking like big pharma tests or anything like that.
Yeah.
Oh god, that could have been awful. But yeah, quite a step up to $2,000 for an afternoon's work of just signing some headshots, right?
Yeah, I mean
maybe wiki feet.
This episode does end up being like about like how Moira can make money, but I actually do think there's a viral clip that went around this week of Michael J. Fox at a I believe he was doing sort of a what do you call it, like a panel with the rest of the Back to the Future cast, and he was talking about when he first started to learn about like, the expo, like, convention center scene, he was like, oh, like this would be really great for the fans to get to like, meet me and like get something out of it, like, so I'll go do that for that reason. And he's like, I so quickly realized just how like important it was for me as a person to like realize how much of an impact the things that he had done affected people's lives. It's just like this really sweet, vulnerable moment for Michael J. Fox. And I was like, what interesting timing that this week is about like Moira's, soapbox convention appearances. But I've been to like, have either of you been to like a convention, like a fan expo convention thing? I had the same thought where like, so in Toronto there's a couple, there's Comic-Con and there's Fan Expo, and I do think sometimes like I'll like, you get there early and there's all of these images of like, a bunch of different people from a bunch of different like they're anime voice people, or they've been in like a a genre show or whatever. And then you'll look and you'll be like, well, like $80 for a foot. Okay, all right, or a picture or whatever. I'm only that. But then the crowds, the lineups of these things are like humongous, and like just people will wait in hours to just get like a pic with someone they saw on TV. It's a big deal.
Yeah. I was at UK Comic Con, and it was the first year that Critical Role had come over. And so I was there. I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind getting some stuff signed and stuff. Looked it up, and I was like, not at that prices. Like, that's ridiculous. I'll hear them talk, and that's it.
You can make a lot of money.
So much money. I just saw Matt Mercer from a distance and was like, I will get all the DM vibes from you that way. But you get like some sales of like, even like the group photos, they pay like $500 and things. But like, and you say like the queues are ridiculous. They did a panel where they got to like talk to the crowd, and people got to ask questions. And it was like ordinarily like you go into like the big hall where people are, and then it clears out, and then the new batch of fans go in, because it's obviously like different shows and different panels and things. Packed the whole day because people were holding seats and being like, nope, I'm not missing this for the world. And I was like, that is just wild. But it seems to be that once you're on the expo like panel circuit, you're like made. Like, you've got money for life.
The one for me that like it kind of blows my mind is at Fan Expo, there's always John O'Hurley, who plays Jay Peterman from like Elaine's boss on Seinfeld, just holds up at his booth and just makes money. And I'm like, yeah, I guess if you're like, if you got a thing that you can make money off of for forever, like, go for it.
It's like a Cameo, but at specific locations. Like, Cameo is the same sort of a thing, and Moira looks at it as like, wow, only like washed up has-beens do this thing. But I think, when she meets a former soap star, Gloria, she's like, girl, like, charge a ton and get bank. Like, what? People love us. Like, I think I understand where Moira's coming from at viewing this as like I'm admitting that my career is over, that this is the best I'll ever do sort of a thing. However, like, you can set the price for these things. And not only that, you're telling me Moira doesn't want to be like sitting down, getting adored all day long, getting like, oh my God, I loved you so much. Like, smack me like you did on Sunrise Bay, like, she's going to get that all day long. And I love that, because we're talking a lot about Moira, but I love that Alexis is like, I am your agent, and I have already signed us up. I've already got you a booth. We're doing this. Like, she's the one who's pushing Moira to try something outside the realm of her comfortability. And I think that's first of all, for Alexis to even get this as an idea and then pitch it to Moira in the right way of being like, I know you need money. This is how much money you could get for doing something like this. It'll be helpful for Cabaret. Like, this is good on Alexis too, for pushing Moira to go outside of her comfort zone. I'm so impressed time and time again with Alexis's like business acumen.
Yeah, like, guaranteed way to like make some decent bank. I think a really good thing as well, like on the money side of things, is like Glory kind of like illuminating Moira as well to me, like you can make a lot of money here and stuff like that, but also kind of illuminating her mindset on what her career could be. Like, she can join these circuits, and it's not like a really shameful thing. Like, she kind of talks about how she was constantly chasing after parts and like going to auditions and kind of constantly kind of worrying about what other people thought of her. And now she gets to come to a place where she's kind of got people telling her, I really appreciate you. And like, that's got to be such a gratifying thing to like go somewhere and have like a line of people queue up to just be like, to meet you. I mean, that's got to be the most ego inflating thing ever. Maybe probably the worst thing that Moira needs, but I don't know. Maybe it might be helpful. I don't know.
No, I think the one thing that's like is very true, and like I'm gonna speak to like it's like the smallest bit of relating to like Moira is like going to a thing like an RHAP event where it's like people know, like the thing is that like, yeah, like there is a smattering of like people, if people listen to your thing, it's, people don't listen to, well, it's not true. People do listen to things because they hate it, but most people are not like every week. I think I believe there's
we found out.
There's a Howard Stern quote where he says like, people who love you will listen to you for 30 minutes and people who hate you will listen to you for 6 hours or something like there is that thing. But for the most part, like if you are on a thing, like you assume that most people are listening because they enjoy you doing that. And so that, I try to keep that in mind as like a person who podcasts and does all this stuff that like people must like listening to it. But then like you can sort of scour out the thing where it's like the negative stuff sticks in your like, in your head a little bit because it's less likely. Like, somebody posted, I have to thank this person next week, but somebody only posted on the YouTube comment on a show I do every single week, just the Tastemakers. They just wrote Grace with a heart beside it. I was like, I don't know what that's for, but I will take it. I don't know what that is in relation to. I think I said, and especially, but like, I feel like that's like a little rare to get like that type of thing. But when you hear the negative, it sticks out. But these things like events where like people just come to you like, I listen to you all the time. You're like, oh my God, like it makes your head like, balloon up. But it is really sweet because it's hard. Like you don't hear direct positive things often about the things you do at the level that you might like one negative comment sticks in your head a lot, so I totally get where how Moira doing the soapbox scene I think would be great for her.
You're so right, Grace. Like the negative stuff will stick in your head far longer than any nice thing someone says. And so it's really about quantity at that point. Like if you're getting like 10 nice comments for every one nasty one, well then maybe then it'll start balancing out a little bit. But yeah, I do think this is like such a solid idea from Alexis. And who's saying she has to do it all the time? She could do like a one and done and then that's it. Like she's not committing to anything. But if she likes it and she makes good money off of it, why the heck not? Like you are known for something, you might as well get paid for it. Like if they're putting your face on TV screens and people enjoy you, then make money off of that. The world is an expensive place. You got to make money how you can.
I mean, unless she doesn't like it, then she doesn't have to do it. But like, if it's actually like enjoyable, but I really love how Alexis outlines. Here are the lines that Moira has: feet pics, fine, we will charge money for those. Sunrise Bay plot points, we are not doing that. We are not talking. We're not doing that. Is a line that will not be enjoyable for any of us, so we're not doing it. I love that. I love it so much.
So good.
So funny.
Anything else on the Moira and Alexis storyline? I enjoyed it, considering I don't think you want something too heavy or too difficult, or like it's a simple, straightforward storyline when the bulk of the episode, the bulk of our emotional energy is going towards the David and Patrick storyline. So I think this is like a perfectly adequate B storyline for the episode.
Yeah, I think this is a really like a great accompaniment to it. Like it's kind of slightly upset because it's a new environment that we're like kind of coming to. It's a weird situation. They build up the feet joke so well because they kind of like gloss over it. Gloria makes a reference to it and then they unveil the pricing. Like it's just so funny how it's like bam, that's the thing that we will kind of charge for. I thought it was really well done. Like I think it had this been more embellished, I think this possibly like could have been an A plot in other episodes, particularly like kind of maybe if this was lended to some of the stinker episodes that we've kind of reviewed, maybe this kind of would work a little bit better for those. But and I think this coupled with the David and Patrick storyline, I think just makes this an absolute powerhouse of an episode. I think, and I didn't even notice that we didn't have a C plot to this. Ordinarily, we get the 3, and then we just got the 2. It doesn't need it at all.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some feedback that we got. We got an email from Libby. who says, I have so many thoughts about this episode. I have a feeling you're going to say the Moira storyline didn't seem to have anything to do with the main story. And the first time I rewatched, I thought the same thing. Then it dawned on me. The storyline has actually a lot to do with the main storyline. Moira, like Patrick, has gone through a huge life change. She's surprised by an event she knew nothing about, thanks to a different Rose sibling. Then she realizes someone from her past is there, which she hadn't planned on. Now, unlike Patrick, Moira is ashamed of her new life, so that's where the similarities end. Patrick isn't ashamed of his new life, nor David at all. He wants his parents to know David. In both cases, Moira and Patrick are met with acceptance. I think Patrick needed this moment with his parents to fully settle in a way. He needed them in that booth, the Roses looking on from a short distance, which I did love, by the way, that they're like caught snooping. Obviously, there will be more people to come out, and you never really stop coming out. But more people to come out too, sorry. But the most important people have been connected to his happy new life. It's not a perfect parallel, but it's there, I think, very much on purpose. Onto the actual storyline. I love David's journey here. He's hurt, but pushes that aside for Patrick and then confronts Patrick's parents, not knowing what he's getting into. The tear he wipes away gets me every time, as does the dance at the end. Truly a classic episode.
Did have to bring up the tear at the end.
I love the note.
I don't want to feel things.
I love the note that there's actually a lot of thematic connection, because like it's like really true, and I hope I want to like can credit the show with like that writing of like deciding to do that, because this idea of like letting go of something, sort of like sort of not coming out, but like recontextualizing this thing that you're like you have a lot of anxiety or like nerves about, and like the emotional, like the vulnerability that comes with doing both of like coming out to your parents, or being on the soapbox scene. I think is really poignant feedback from. It's a really good point. Yeah
And it's great that they can like have two stories playing on the same theme, but not like use it to like drill the same kind of like story in both, like to play around with it and like to have maybe a bit more fun with the Moira side of it, and like have through the absurdity of such a theme in the story, but then also have the seriousness and a little bit of playfulness with David and Patrick. It's fun to see how they play with both.
We also got a message from Jared. When it comes to sitcoms, I adamantly beat the drum for comedy over plot. And I think many modern sitcoms get a little too sappy with their plot. But this is the episode that makes me feel differently about the show. Even having seen it before, this more than anything that's happened before or anything that's to come is what really gets to me. My only qualm with the episode is that the B plot feels like it contrasts slightly with the A plot, but the B plot stands on its own really well. Still, beyond that, this is a near flawless piece of 22-minute TV. Which, I mean, I am with you. I think I think I tend to agree with Jared in terms of I'm fine if sitcoms, if we're leaning comedy over plot in most sitcoms. I do think the best sitcoms are able to find a way to give you the warm fuzzies. Not every episode, but every once in a while, just to remind you that, like, these characters have changed. They have grown, right? We've seen their arcs and them blossom a little bit. I think it's necessary, and the best sitcoms will have those moments, but it is a sitcom. And so we're usually watching it to laugh. And the show does a great job of giving us both of those things.
Yeah, I think it's a. I'm going to jump in before I think Grace says it. Is that Grace often says that like comedic like kind of actors and things tend to do the best like drama and like the best kind of like emotionality because of like kind of the way in which they have that capability. And it's I think having the warm fuzzies occasionally suits a sitcom like this kind of perfectly. I think we talk quite often about there being like a good Venn diagram of like plot progression, warm fuzzies, and comedy, and the best episode has an aspect of all three. This one I think had a little bit of plot progression because I don't feel like I felt like it was a progression of David and Patrick's relationship. Certainly, like it certainly feels super serious, and I think locked in at this point. I no longer have those kind of like worries of like an argument throwing it and derailing it and things. I think that they have weathered the biggest of storms and that these two are set. Please don't prove me wrong. And we got some like solid comedy. Like had some like absolute belter jokes in this. and Warm Fuzzies, I mean, was off the scale. So like we hit it on every kind of like aspect that I think makes a great episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our ratings here. I think it's like both tough and not tough this episode. Stuart, I'll go to you first. Who is simply the best? Who are you giving your MVP point to this episode?
Oh gosh. The Johnny had a good episode. Just gonna say it, because if I don't give Johnny his flowers, I never will. And I often will get told off for it. So there you are, people. I do like Johnny.
You could just call him out by name. Will would be the one getting upset. You could just say his name. It's okay.
When's he on next? Is he going to shout at me? I don't know. Like for this, I find it a little bit difficult because for me there are two contenders. There's like Patrick for obviously doing what Patrick did, but then there's also David, and I'm leaning towards David, even though it's Patrick's story, because I don't know, like I feel like David navigated a lot in there. So for me, I'm gonna lean on the David side, but it's so neck and neck.
Mm-hmm. Grace, what about you? Who are you gonna give your point to?
I agree with that, but I feel like it'd be a shame for Patrick to not get points. So I'm gonna give Patrick because I think it's so close between them. And I guess the only my reasoning to go more so with Patrick, and it's like not that like anybody does anything wrong, but like Patrick does the least amount of wrong. You know, like and again, it's not really, that's like the wrong terminology, but like Patrick just ends up in the situation that like he, you know, he's
reacting to in a situation that he's been put into. Yeah.
I guess his big mistake is always having wanted a surprise birthday party.
I was about to say, like, if there was one flaw, it would be that.
Yeah. Well, the
anybody's listening to this, I never ever in my life ever want a surprise birthday party. Just for the record.
I'll send this to your mom, Grace. Don't worry.
I do not
I'll let her know.
Yeah. Don't send to my brother because we're planning him a surprise birthday.
You said it on here. Oh, that'd be so mean. Well, the joke is on both of you, because I literally was saying to formerly mentioned husband Will that if of Patrick and David, whoever didn't get a point, I was going to give a point to, because I feel like they both earned one. Yep. And now now the joke's on me because I don't know what to do. Because they're both worthy of points in this episode, right? Like they both are just incredible. And it is like so hard to choose. And I agree with you, Stuart, as well, that like there'd be points if we could just give out points like pieces of candy. My God, so many people would be getting them this episode. Like, you know, Patrick's parents.
Yeah, Johnny. Patrick's parents. I think if you want to, I feel like they are a contender. Like they really they didn't know he was gay, and then they're trying so hard to be supportive. They are very sweet. I think that they are definitely a contention.
Yeah, it's just really difficult. And I think ultimately I am going to give the point to Patrick, because I think like to Grace's point about him being kind of put into this situation. And then I also really love that we talk about David kind of setting his feelings aside to take care of Patrick. I feel like Patrick does a great job at like validating David's feelings and being like, if the roles were reversed, I would be devastated. Like I love that he said that, because it's true. He can say something that I did or didn't do has resulted in you feeling hurt, and I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I actually think Patrick's the like thing that I wish the most that Patrick had done out of any of this is tell David that he hadn't told his parents.
Yeah.
Like that's actually the biggest piece. Like, I don't care that Patrick didn't tell his parents, because I get that. Like, you know, I don't blame David for having thrown a party. It's like, if Patrick just had communicated like, cause that's a piece of like being in a relationship, I think is like really fair. It's almost like surprising that they had like, and I mean, it's just
they hadn't
comedy.
Talked about it.
That's just like a comedy setup, and probably just a little bit of like, we know we'll want to do this episode at some point, so we'll like withhold, like we'll never have them talk about it. That's the only piece that like, if I was to judge Patrick a little bit, like I feel like you really could have told David that you hadn't told your parents, but is what it is.
All right, on to our disgruntled Pelican point. This one is rough because there's no real bad character, right? Like Roland's annoying because he's Roland. Like he like tries to make it seem like Johnny is like a bit of an asshole, honestly. He like tries to act like Johnny is just unkind and judgmental.
It's so funny that Roland thinks that. I feel like my read of that in the opening scene is that he's like, well, you really like let them know that your son is in a relationship with like the joke is not that their son is in a gay relationship. It's like the fact that like they're in a relationship is like they're so shocked and stunned by it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So Roland's a contender. My other option is I was being completely serious that Twyla, how dare she? Like, how dare you interrupt? But again, when we're looking at the salmonella of it all, like, okay, fine, give her a little bit of a pass.
Wow.
But so I don't really know. Like, my only real option is Roland. Like, there's no one else who does anything. Who else does anything bad this episode?
Just one. You could just go with the concept of homophobia, or
yes, that's a great idea.
No, we cannot. That's opening the floodgates.
Or
like, podcast.
Or people who want to ask Moira about plot points and
yeah,
the soap. The worst.
Yeah. I mean, what were you thinking, Stuart? Who were you going to give yours to?
I was hoping that I could just copy someone else's.
Yeah.
Have you ever done this? Have you never given a description? Like, I honestly do think
we've always have.
I do feel like there's a world where you're like, nobody actually gets. Like, I really don't think anybody, like, I don't think anybody, like, nobody does anything that I would like classify as like being actively, like,
because Alexis does a really nice thing by setting up the expo. Moira has like a decent. I think it's a nice thing to. I think she's pushing Moira.
No, if I had a day off work and someone goes, actually, I booked you to do some other work.
She didn't have a day off work. She was working from home, Stuart.
That's a day off. That's a day off. And I say that as someone who works from home.
I'm just gonna go with Roland because I do think it's a bad look that the first time like the parents are meeting, Roland acts like Johnny is homophobic. That's really not great. And so if I'm struggling to give it to someone, truly, like he's the only one who does anything remotely bad. So it's gonna be Roland for me. Because I'm committed to giving out a bad point every single time. I don't care.
We've got to give out a point.
We're in season 5. Like we can't break it now.
No, we can't. We can't break the system now.
I mean, this is not really going to affect. Yeah, it's not going to really affect Roland's score, right? Like, it's not like there's already
rolling in the negative points.
There's arguably episodes where Roland should have got points that he didn't get right? Like you were like, oh, this person
certainly.
Like Roland was bad, but like this person's really bad. So we're just
here
like,
in these other places.
Yeah, we're just retroactively giving Roland points that he should have gotten in previous episodes.
There we go. That's how we could say it. Yep.
I always try to give Roland like some positivity whenever he like shows even the slightest aspect. I feel like I give him pity points, and I'm trying to like not have him be this low down character because I think Roland has like moments where he can be very lovely. It's just very rare, and it's very rare that he's the MVP. So like he gets so many bad points. But yeah, I mean, he's the worst. I think.
Yeah. I mean,
you could just throw it on what is her name, Gloria Gregson. She doesn't really do anything wrong, but who cares? Gloria Gregson.
But screw Gloria, right?
Does she say anything about her before? Does Moira say anything bad about Gloria Gregson?
No, she goes, Gloria Gregson. That's just her name.
Maybe. I mean, like she does make some really nasty wine by the sounds of it. Very cheap.
Oh yeah, she makes the cheap wine that they would put in their sangria.
Yeah.
So funny. It's so cheap and delicious. Also, shout out to the tiny Alexis moment I haven't brought up yet, where Gloria says like, "Oh, you mean sisters?" and Alexis laughs and then goes, "Ew."
That's arguably up there as a bad thing Alexis does. It's pretty rude that when somebody like compliments your mom.
No, ew, stop it. I hate when people do that because they're obviously lying. Like they're so obviously lying that those people never look like sisters. My mom and I have gotten that before, and it is just like, first of all, that's disrespectful to me as the younger one. Stop it.
All right, I'll give my LVP point to Jess.
Yeah, same. I changed mine. Yeah.
Too late. They're already locked in. Okay. Let's go on to the wig watch because we do have a wig, and it almost snuck by me without notice because it is like blink and you miss it. We barely see Moira in the scene in which she has it on. This is at the actual surprise party. She has donned an ombre kind of balayage, like red to orangey we've not seen this wig before, I don't think.
It's like gets lighter as it goes down. It's like an ambery, like yeah, I like it.
You don't know balayage, Stuart?
I don't know.
Balayage.
It's a great wig.
It sounds like a word Moira would have very much fun saying.
Yeah.
Balayage. Balayage is when you get like your hair goes from dark to light, like a gradient is like another way, and you usually get like highlights at the bottom. And it's a great technique to not have to go, because if you get highlights, they grow out and you can immediately see your roots. If you get a balayage, it's like more subtle.
Nice. Okay. Can we talk about the size of that ring on Moira's finger? Like Jesus.
That's an egg.
It's an egg.
And then there's ever smaller eggs on her other hand.
It's a dinosaur egg. Yeah. But yeah, I do like this wig. I think it's a little flat. I like my wigs to be a little more voluminous, but it's not bad. It's okay. Better than some of the
it's
other
a new
ones
wig. I don't think we've seen this one.
Exactly. It's
always
a new
appreciate
one,
a new wig with Moira, because sometimes we don't get them for a while.
Yeah, and this one, like I said, blink and you miss it. It was barely even there. All right, let's tier rank this episode. I have a feeling I know where this is gonna go, but for the shits and gigs, for the hot shits and gigs. Oh, that sounds gross. Hot shit, full bouquet. Love that journey for you, David. Shit out of luck. Stuart, where are you thinking this one should go?
Ooh, I mean, hot shit. Like, it's a banger of an episode.
It's obviously going to go in this top tier. Yeah, but where? So to reset, in case you aren't watching us on YouTube, which you definitely should be, and while you're there, you might as well subscribe, because we're so close to getting 200 subscribers.
So close.
So close. So currently, the way that the hot shit tier looks is we have season 5, episode 8, The Hospies, episode 5, Housewarming, episode 2, Love Letters, the premiere, The Crowaning, and now we have Meet the Parents that has to be slotted in somewhere.
Definitely higher than Love Letters, I would say.
I was gonna say it's higher than The Crowaning, so yeah, we could. Yeah, I agree. I think it's above Love Letters. Housewarming, though, and Grace, I don't know how recently you've watched any of these. Housewarming is the one where Patrick has the new apartment. They throw a big house party. Ted is drunk. It's hilarious. He keeps saying big guy. There's a lot of smoochies happening, which is really fun. And it can't go higher than Housewarming. Housewarming also has it's Moira and Johnny are watching the bebe, which is really funny. Like, both storylines are really good.
But does it have the warm fuzzies?
No.
Does it have the plot progression, Jeff? You're missing the Venn.
See, my hot take for this episode is actually I was trying not to say this that much, because I feel like, as somebody who's like kind of hopping in, it doesn't matter as much. But I don't feel like this episode is like as funny as Schitt's Creek can be. It's like, for me, actually the piece of it that's actually missing the most. Like, I think it's such a good, and it's like, it's not that, like, it's it's not a very special episode, but it kind of is like the Schitt's Creek version of like a very special episode.
It's more warm fuzzy than it is comedy.
Yeah,
because Housewarming is way funnier than this episode, but it doesn't have as many warm fuzzies. So it's what's your preference?
Yeah,
I think Stuart leans more warm fuzzy. I lean more comedy, because that's our brand.
It's not that I mean, I do lean warm fuzzies more often than not. I think maybe I found the expo stuff funnier than both of you, because
it's because the wiki feed of it all.
Honestly, that really cracked me up. Like, like the sangria, like the whole like premise of that really kind of cracked me up.
Can I throw you an interesting fact, which is just in terms of just how important this episode is? This was there was like some, like, next time on, or like the promo for this at the time that it was coming, and it was so like, there was like such a fervor about this episode coming out, and I believe this is the 3rd highest rated episode on IMDb. I think if you look at the facts on the
interesting.
And I do feel like it's, I have to be honest, when I watched it, I was like, I think this is really good. It is not as good as I remember it being, but I still think it's like amazing. But I feel I can feel this in the conversation a little bit, that I do think like there's this idea of like, is this actually like one of the best episodes? Which is like, before I watch it, I was like, that's my memory of it. I feel like going back and rewatching it, it is super important and it's very good. And I feel like it's like, so in like, in terms of like, there might not be a better Patrick episode, honestly, other than
that's the thing.
singing,
the open mic
singing
night.
is open mic night.
I think there are episodes that we have personally put all the way up in hot shit, even if they had like a subpar storyline, because some of the singular moments in those episodes were either important, warm fuzzies, make you cry, like whatever it is. There are moments that just kind of outweigh every other criteria we have. And like the Hospice has a little bit of Lexus. So like, in my opinion, we're not beating that with this.
The thing about the thing about I think this episode is that it has like so many of the elements of like what I think makes Schitt's Creek work perfectly, but it doesn't have. So for me, the season 2 finale, it is so warm fuzzy, and it's all of them together. And this is like a very like, similar to open mic. This is like such a Patrick and David thing, and this one is almost, I mean, it is a Patrick and David thing. This is almost like so Patricky, more than anything. So I say this all to say like, you can, like, I feel like you folks can put it where you well, I'm trying to give like some context, and just like, this was such a big deal at the
it was a big episode. And at this point, just to give some context in terms of for the show itself, at this point I believe the show had already hit Netflix, which is really what had like skyrocketed it to like where Americans were watching. You know what I mean? Like, this is a Canadian show, but like when it got on Netflix, it exploded. And this was post the Netflix, post it going on to Netflix. I think it was after season 2 that it came to Netflix. So it was hugely popular at this point. And we'll talk next season when we get there about like the Emmy nods and Emmy wins and all that stuff, because that was crazy for the final season.
The other stat I'll tell you is that, for like Stuart, your sake, none of the episodes that rate higher than it have happened yet. That's the other. There's not a single episode that's up to this point that has rated higher on IMDb than this episode.
I believe that, even if I think it's incorrect. Like, so I believe that's accurate. Except that I disagree with it, because I think there's just like, there's a lot of episodes that I would put.
And just to say, we're getting like on like typically like 1.5 to 3,000 reviews on IMDb, and we're like talking like about like 8.9s versus 9.1s. Like, that's what we're not talking about like, oh, like open mic that has a 7.5 and this has like an 8.8. Like, this episode has a 9.1 and open mic I think is an 8.9. That's the difference.
Okay, Stuart, this is where I stand. I think
you go.
I was just gonna say, I think so. For me, the Hospice is still number 1. A little bit of Alexis is such a like a moment. I love it just so very much. I still think I would put Housewarming above Meet the Parents, because of just how much I love both storylines and how funny it is. Then I think I would have Meet the Parents third, because as much as it gives us all the warm fuzzies and it is like huge progression for David and Patrick, I think like it's not as much about the roses, and it's less funny, more heartwarming. So I think that's where I would land, but I'm willing to be swayed if you think differently.
No. I think you make some really good points there. And I think when you factor in the scope of like what does get focus here, it's very kind of narrow. And I do prefer them kind of the wider, more ensemble, kind of bringing everyone together. Those warm fuzzies a bit better. So yeah, I'm content with it being where it is. It's still very high up. Originally we did say that we weren't actually going to rank them against the other episodes. It was just going to be a tier ranking. So I will just ignore that we've been doing that for 5 seasons.
We can do whatever we want. That's where I stand. So that's our episode. And Stuart, do you want to know what next week's episode is titled?
Absolutely.
We're on the penultimate episode of the season. And it is called The Roast.
That's not right? No, you're on the anti-penultimate. Isn't there 14 episodes in season?
14.
Maybe we are on the we're on the anti-penultimate. Apologies.
Anti-penultimate. Yeah.
I do love
I
anti-penultimate.
got worried now. I was
Pretty
like,
much
I'm
just as
expecting
much,
more
so.
episodes here.
Yeah.
The roasts. Are we getting a comedy roast? I don't think we're getting a roast dinner. Like that, obviously, like I hear roast as a British person. I'm like, roast dinner? Yes, please. I guess comedy roast? Maybe like an open mic night thing? Is someone getting roasted?
Who's getting
maybe
roasted?
Moira. I don't know, maybe Moira. Maybe it's another way of like raising money for the production. Maybe they're gonna put on a roast and have people like pay for attendance or something. And then we get loads of one-liners about Moira being an absurdist. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm gonna find out in like 15 minutes though when I watch it.
We'll have to see. And we won't be alone either. We're going to be joined by Todd the librarian, so that is very exciting. Can't wait for that
because he knows how to read people for filth.
There you go. Zing. Grace, thank you so much for joining us yet again. You have so much going on. Tell the people a little bit about what you have going on.
So the Tastemakers, Tara and I watching all the TV and tell you what you should and shouldn't watch. So check that out. Also writing for Parade and Pop Heist. And it is a June, so it's Pride Month. So we're doing the Pride Has Spoken. We had an episode with Asia and we had an episode with Teeny. And I feel like there were like things that I was thinking about this as I was like that from those conversations that I was like were very relevant. It was so good for you to time this to start the rewatch so that this episode would happen in Pride Month. That was so smart of you.
Really nailed it.
Yeah, we're selling new merch over there as well and raising lots of funds for the Trevor Project. So check that out. Yeah, I'm on social media at Hi From Grace or at Go For Grace.
Incredible. Actually, speaking of Pride Month, I just finished a book in Pride Month, which called Woodworking by Emily St. James. Yes. Go read this book. If you're looking for a short, heartwarming, sometimes heavy novel that is centered on two trans characters, like go check out this book. It was really, really good. It's set during the fall of 2016. We all remember what happened in the fall of 2016 in America, in South Dakota. And it is just really, really, really good. So go check out that book during Pride Month because I really enjoyed it. And it just came out this year.
I think that's from Crooked Media. I think that was one of
it is.
Yeah, there you go.
It is.
Yeah,
yep.
Cool.
So go check that out. Stuart, anything else we need to plug? Anything else we have going on? I don't think so.
No, just obviously, just a reminder. I mean, we talked about affirming comments from lovely listeners for the media that people put out there at Expos. Do the same for us. We're like 3 subscribers away from 200. So if you're watching on YouTube, just click the little button. It takes like just one little quick second out of your life. And it also means that Jess and I have to do something really silly when we do reach 200, which we haven't decided yet, but we will decide soon. Whether it be, we've got to somehow one up wearing awful itchy wigs. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it somehow.
I still have this next to me.
Why?
Because I don't. No, burn it, please. This is so much plastic in it. That's terrible for the environment.
Would be really bad. Yeah.
It would stink. But it is still here. Look at it. Look at her.
Stuart, during Pride Month, you're talking about a wig burning. How dare you?
No, yeah, don't burn wigs.
How dare you? How dare you?
You're a monster. You should be ashamed of yourself. Anyway, so yeah, we'll be back next week with season 5, episode 12. And until then, everyone, warmest regards
and best wishes.
Tweet us on Facebook or leave us a review, and you say, yeah, okay, I think I will.